Just like in a hamburger, a paragraph or a story or a book do have proper structure. What that means is, kind of like with a hamburger, if you took the top part, which is called what? The bun, right? It's the bread. It's the top of the hamburger, isn't it? And if you were to eat that all by itself, it might taste good, right? Might be okay. But if you put it on top of a hamburger and you put the bottom part, which is also the same bread, it's the same type of thing, right? It goes on the bottom of the hamburger. How does that make the hamburger better? It makes it easier to eat, kind of gives you a dry part that you can hold on to. Good. What else? Tastes good, right? Sometimes that bread added to the meat and the tomato or the sauces, it tastes good all together. It makes it a better tasting experience eating it, doesn't it? Very good. But what happens if you take the bread and you were to put it in the middle of the hamburger? And there was meat on the top and maybe the tomato on the bottom. Maybe the lettuce was in the middle of the bread and the meat, and the onion was underneath and it was on the very bottom, and the sauce was all over. Would it still be the same kind of experience? It would still taste the same, probably, if you cut it up with a fork and a knife and you ate it all in one bite at a time. But it would be a lot messier, wouldn't it? And you might get a little bit more of just one part of the hamburger instead of taking a bite out of all of it. Changes it, changes the way that it looks, changes the way that you can pick it up or hold it or take it. And it might also change the experience as you think about it. Was that good? Was it bad? Did I like it? It could change it. So the organization of a hamburger does affect whether or not you might like it and whether or not it really kind of works. A paragraph is the same way. You can take the sentences of a paragraph and you could jumble them up and they would still mean the same thing. The sentence all by itself would mean the exact same thing. However, if you put them in the proper order, then the paragraph as a whole is better. The top is connected to the bottom, just like the two parts of the bread. The supporting sentences in the middle all fit together, and the whole thing combines like one whole hamburger instead of individual parts like meat and tomato or just bread. Instead of those individual pieces, it turns into one complete hamburger or one complete paragraph that interrelates and all works together. Today we have the opportunity to create a hamburger paragraph in the proper order and with the right parts, the parts that make this hamburger great, except we're going to use details about a country. So I have a bucket and we are going to have you pick out of the bucket a country. Each of you is then going to do a little bit of research about the country that you have chosen. You're going to find some ideas, some things that are interesting. And you can write these things down or you can just think about them in your mind, whichever you think is easier. But you're going to need to fill out the hamburger paragraph with what you find. The first thing that you're going to look for is the top bun or the introduction. What is it about this country do you want to talk about? That could look like you've decided to tell us the kind of food that's popular in this country. Or maybe You want to talk about who the leader of this country is. Or maybe you've chosen just to talk about an interesting holiday that they have and the way that they celebrate it. You choose. You choose what you want to talk about this country. That is going to be in your introduction. That's going to be your top bun, the top of your paragraph. Introduce your topic. And then you need to support that by filling in the middle. These are details that give us additional information about what it is that you're writing about. Let's use that same example. Maybe you want to talk about a holiday that they have, something that they celebrate. You could, as an example, introduce the holiday. This is a holiday that they have, let's say, in Switzerland. And then your supportive information could look like this holiday is on this day of the month. Decorations for this holiday are always these colors. Lots of people like this holiday and participate in it. Things like that. Supportive information. And then the bottom of your bun, the conclusion is going to be, and what are your thoughts about that? This holiday is a popular one, or this holiday is one that's really different, but something that people like. You choose how you're going to complete this in your conclusion, but make sure that it connects to your introduction. What is your topic sentence? What is your introduction at the top? Make sure your conclusion at the bottom somehow is connected to that. If you need additional examples as you write, you can ask me and I can give you some ideas. So take your country name and let's use our laptops or the devices that you have, and let's do some research. And let's find some information that can help us to create a hamburger about your country. All right? After you've written your paragraphs, we are going to present them to the class. That means you get to come up front and you get to share with the class what you discovered about this country. While individuals share what they've discovered, each of you is going to take notes. Write down the name of the country. If you need help spelling it, or if you didn't hear what it was, you can raise your hand at the end of the presentation, but not until the end, okay? There will be a question period at the end, and that's where you would raise your hand and ask, how do you spell that? But you're going to need to write down, first of all, which country is presented, and secondly, what was it that they wrote about? What details did you hear about that country? What did you learn? You could also include in there if you liked it or if you didn't. Let's say, for example, what was presented was a holiday. It would be okay if in your notes you gave your opinion about that, but make sure you write down what you heard, what was written. At the end, we will turn in hamburger paragraph form and also the notes that you've taken. So make sure you write your name on the top. Let's pick our country names, start our research, and prepare for our presentations.